Why do you think that it's so important to delegate? I know one of my favorite reasons to delegate is so that I can have more free time to do the things that I love to do. And right now, my husband and I are kind of getting into that mode where we're traveling a lot more. And when you travel, if you have a business, boy, it's really helpful to have somebody that can do a lot of those tasks. So I recently just got back from 3 weeks spending an amazing time with my beautiful granddaughter. Yeah, okay, proud grandma moment. Proud grandma moment. Cue the oohs and ahs, right? Yeah, so, but I gotta tell you, I gotta admit, I learned a few things about delegating while I was gone. And on this episode of Delegate This, that's what I'm gonna talk about. 3 lessons that I learned about delegating while I was traveling. Aren't you excited? I know, juicy information, so let's get started. Okay, one of the reasons that we love to be able to delegate is so that we can travel more. But if you're going to travel, it's important to have a really good plan in place. And that means really understanding some of the ins and outs of delegating before you get to the point where you're delegating and then you're going to leave. Because if you delegate and then leave, you may run into some problems like I did. So let me tell you about my experiences. The first thing that I ran into, well, before I was leaving, I thought, oh, I'm going to have my team do a lot of the work that I normally would do. I'm going to make sure that they know what they're supposed to do, and I am going to delegate so much that I'm just going to be the queen of this, right? It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be able to kick back and be grandma and spend all kinds of lovely time helping the new parents adjust to being new parents. It's going to be wonderful. One of the things that I did to prepare for this was that I spent several weeks ahead of time trying to batch everything and get everything up to date and scheduled way in advance. You know, I wanted my shows, all of these videos to be ready and scheduled in advance. I wanted my newsletters to be scheduled in advance so that while I was there, all of that work was done. Now, what that meant was extra work for my team and for myself as we were doing kind of double duty. We were doing the regular scheduled videos and newsletters and blog posts, but we are also trying to do extra to get ahead of schedule. And this is great in theory, and everything is like, oh, yeah, okay, then I can just sit back and relax while I'm gone. So I fully expected to do maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours while I was gone. You know, the kids, they were getting adjusted to being new parents. I knew they weren't going to want me around 24/7. So that would give me some time in the mornings to get some work done, and I fully expected that to cover the workload. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that there were some challenges that were going to be involved with that. And those are the things that I learned from. Those were the mistakes that I had an opportunity to say, okay, next time I'm going to do this different. And that's what I want you to learn from. So let's first talk about the first one. Batching. Now, I mentioned that batching is like that thing that you do all of the work in advance. You do like all of your blog posts on one day, or you do all of your editing of videos on one day, or whatever it is. But instead of doing a little bit over several days, you just do it all at once. And this is a great idea. It's a great concept, and it really works the way that my brain works. Unfortunately, the team that I had in place, they weren't yet used to this concept. They weren't really fully trained with this is the way that I operate. So when I was asking them to batch tasks and they were used to doing things a little bit each time, this was a big change for them. And they had other clients that they were working with, and they were expecting a kind of more of a steady income coming in. And so they had different expectations than I did around this. So the thing that I learned from it and that I'll do differently next time is to really make sure that I have my team on board with understanding this is how I want things done. I want to get these tasks batched. Now, either I need to make sure that I'm prepared well in advance and they can still kind of, spread it out a little bit, or really get them to embrace the idea of batching so that they're right there with me and they understand, yeah, we're going to do all of this work in a few days period of time, and then we're going to have a break. We're going to do all of the work in a few days period of time, and then we're going to have a break. So if they understand that, then they can better plan for that. So that's one of the important things. If you're going to be batching, make sure that your team is used to that and they're prepared for this idea, this concept of getting all of that work batched at once. And then the next thing is training. So there were a lot of tasks that I had been doing myself. I hadn't quite delegated them yet. But as I looked at this opportunity to be gone for 3 weeks, I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to get my team members to do that so I don't have to focus on it. You know what? I could normally do that myself. And, you know, it's not that big a deal, so I'll just do it myself. But wait a minute, now I want somebody else to do it. All of a sudden, I'm throwing this on somebody else's plate. And what I had done to prepare for this is I recorded this great little video using Loom and, you know, gave them a step-by-step procedure on how to handle it and sent that over. And I said, here you go, let's get started. And guess what? I did that about a week before I left. Okay, that's not enough time to get somebody onboarded. And I don't know what I was thinking about that, but I'm like, oh, I did the video. They'll be fine. I totally understand. It's a simple procedure. But I really underestimated that there are just certain things that we ourselves know, and we know it intuitively, and we don't realize that it's not intuitive for other people to know those things. So whenever we hand off a new task, it's really critically important to give enough learning curve, enough opportunity for them to really grasp that concept and practice and trade it back and forth and say, okay, here's my first iteration. How'd I do? Here's the second iteration. Is it a little bit better? And go through a few times before you unleash the whole process on them and say, hey, it's all yours. Good to go. This is a training process, and it's not something that people are going to just pick up like that. Somebody knows how to send an email newsletter, but they don't know how to send your email newsletter. They don't know how to label it. They don't know how to tag it. You know, there's different things about your newsletter that are unique to your newsletter or your blog or your podcast, and it's important that you allow your team to have that time to practice and to fully understand what it is that your expectations are. Definitely something that I learned. As a side note on that, here's the biggest mistake that I made, I think, is that I was thinking, oh, you know what? I'm just going to do this myself, because if I'm not doing this, then you know, I have enough time to do the newsletter. I have enough time to do this other little thing over there. So I'm not gonna delegate that to somebody else. And so I didn't until I needed to. And then it was too late. So the lesson that I learned is I'm going to delegate all of those things that I can possibly delegate to somebody else way before that I need that to be delegated. And then I'll keep the things that I can manage, that only I can do, like recording these videos. I can't have a VA do that for me. You know, and do those things in batches when I'm home, because my husband and I, we're getting ready to do a lot of traveling. I mean, really, we're going to go on an Alaskan cruise. We are going to go to Jamaica. We have got a 20-year wedding anniversary coming up in a little over a year, and we're going to go somewhere amazing for that. So my husband, side note, fun note, my husband proposed to me at the Venetian in Las Vegas. And when we were getting ready to get married, we were going to go to Vegas to do it, but I didn't want one of those cheesy Elvis weddings, right? I wanted something classy. And so I told him, I said, we can either go to Vegas and get married at the Venetian, where you proposed, or we can go to Venice, right? Hey, yeah, well, we weren't quite at that point where we are now. So Venice was totally off the list of opportunities there. So we got married at the Venetian. Now we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary, and guess what? Hint, hint, wink, wink. I'm telling him he wants to surprise me, but I don't think this is going to be much of a surprise. Venice may be in the works for me in the very near future. Anyway, so yeah, so I want to make sure that I get to take full advantage of all that travel and all of that excitement and be able to really still build and grow my business and know that it's running without me, while I'm away, or at least all I have to do is a minor check-in here or there. If you do a lot of speaking, if you do a lot of project work, if you love to spend more time with your clients, make sure that you're delegating those things that are kind of hit or miss, because it frees you up and frees the whole thought process to be able to do those things, right? I like it. Hopefully you do too. Okay, so let's recap real quick. There's batching, right? Making sure that you're doing things in bulk and that you have your whole team on board to do it that way, and that the process is working smoothly well before you have to actually tap into that and use it. Next is training. Making sure that you're getting everybody fully trained before you're unleashing them and expecting them to have magical results while you're gone and you're not there to answer questions or offer feedback. And then finally, it's making sure that you're doing those small tasks, that you're offloading the small tasks so that somebody else is doing that work. Even though you're like, I got time right now, you may not have time next week or next month when you don't have time to get them trained, but you really need to have somebody to do that. So batching, training, and small tasks. Get it off your plate. So whether you dream of having a business that allows you the freedom to travel, or you just have that business that you're continually working on building, growing and building bigger and bigger and amazing things, this is that opportunity. Really focus on delegating those things now so that it frees up your time to do the amazing things, right? Love it. And if you're a coach, consultant, or other kind of service-based business owner and you really want to start delegating, but you need some help with that. Maybe you don't want to do the management. You really know that there's something there for you, but just hiring a VA is not quite going to cut it. Then I really encourage you to give us a call. Contact us now at delegatesmarter.com and you can schedule your own consultation with me. We'll get on the phone, we'll have a conversation, find out what your needs are, and find out whether or not we're a good fit to really help you expand and grow and make something truly amazing. And check out our next video coming up, and we'll see you next week.